stay mad at you. So he said, our manager, Bruce Bochy, for the Rangers, said they can only stay mad so long. Do you agree with that in marriage?
I agree with that, but mine's got a big memory. Yeah. You think she's fine, and then it crops back up, something she's mad about. And I go, where'd that come from? I thought we were past all that.
I think, unfortunately, I carry that tendency with my wife because we're talking about one thing, and I was like, plus I'm still mad about this other thing from 2 weeks ago. And she's like, what? So I am guilty of that as well. I apologize for...
I actually get on with the rat killing. It's time to move on.
Yeah. So I was curious, and we had an opportunity to talk to Jerry earlier. Have you noticed any kind of uptick? Maybe it's just here, maybe it's across the league, or maybe it doesn't exist at all, at injuries early in training camp. I know sometimes training camp, the beginning, can be unfortunate to take people down. I don't have any of the data yet.
At the end of the day, I'm on the competition committee, and we study this ad nauseum. And I will say last year, the acclimation, or over the last couple of years, having the acclimation, there's no question, really helps with the injuries. Now, you get a few big-name guys. We had Dono Wilson here.
Yeah. And obviously
you get a Burrow. You get a
Ramsey.
You get Ramsey. You get guys like that, and everybody's antennas go up and say, boy, we're having problems. And so, like I said, we'll just have to see the data. The acclimation period has proven out that it helps, not getting in those pads for the first week. And certainly, I think in general, it's probably, when you do have the big names, it, puts an exclamation point on it. But I think in general, I think we're headed in a good direction with the acclimation.
Any word on the extent, I know it just happened yesterday, of Sam Williams? What's the level of concern there?
I think he's going to be fine. I mean, it's something you got to monitor. He obviously had a shoulder injury, and, it's going to all boil down to his strength and that type of thing. We'll see how he's doing out there today. But in general, we think he's going to be just fine.
It was amazing. We got to interview Sam Williams, and he was a great interview. He just learned last week that Leighton Vander Esch and Dak Prescott have microphones in their helmet. He had no clue last year as a rookie. He thought Dak, Tom Brady were all calling their plays. And he thought that Leighton Vander Esch, he's like, how does he know what to call in these situations? And so he said just this training camp, he found out that Leighton has a microphone or a receiver in his helmet, and so do the quarterbacks.
Well, you never know with these rookies what they might be thinking, but obviously he's trying to get his part right. And, he's doing a hell of a job of that. We're really thrilled with what Sam Williams has brought to this football team. I think he's going to really take the next step this year in terms of what he can do as a football player for us. And but it is interesting sometimes to see the take these rookies have on things when they're not necessarily clued in on it.
Mike was actually bringing up, like, Dan Quinn must love that. Some guys are like, no, I don't want a guy that knows everything, and I can just tell him to go out there and do it. Mm-hmm. But Dan Quinn seems to love to mold players and teach and grow them, and having a blank canvas like Sam Williams must be a dream for him.
Well, Dan really held up his hand and wanted to draft Sam, and really felt like, as you said, a lot of potential there to develop him. And as you said, Dan does such a great job of giving these guys just what they need, and not too much. Some of them obviously want more and want to understand everything, and some of them want to do their job, which is you got to have all those too. So there's very few of them who know how to tell everybody exactly what to do and what their jobs are, and certainly Dak has to do that as the quarterback of this team, and certainly Leighton and guys like a Hooker have done a great job of, really being a leader out there on the field and being able to understand what's going on with what everybody's doing. And I'm sure as Sam progresses, he'll get to the point where he's knowing pretty much what everybody's doing as well. But as a rookie, it's nice to come in and, hey, let's get my job right first.
We've talked with a couple of GMs in multiple different sports about, talent acquisition and what the right mix is of veterans, young players, and that. And your team seems to have a combination across the board. Is that by design, or is that something you thought about? Is we got to have these guys for this and that?
I think you think about it as you start to mold your team and what you need in the room. you obviously need leadership in each and every room, whether it's the DNs, whether it's the tackles, whether it's the linebackers, safeties, corners. You get that. Certainly, same thing goes on offense. You want a good leader in the wide receiver room. One of the things we thought about when we traded for Gilmore and Cooks was their leadership. And, they're pros. And they step in that room and they bring great leadership. I know Cooks has been a great mentor for some of the young guys, in particular Tolbert over there.
Yep.
At the same point, Gilmore, I think Diggs will tell you time and time again what he's already learned from having Stephon Gilmore in the room with him. And, as good as Diggs is, he's learning a lot. He's learning how to take care of his body. He's learning, how to be a student of the game. Obviously, a lot of these young guys have great talent, C.D. Lamb, guys like that. But when you get a guy like a Cooks comes into the room and knows how to take care of his body, knows how to play the game, knows, how to study film, what to focus on, I think those things are invaluable, and that's part of the reason, a big part of the reason why we traded for a guy like a Cooks and a Gilmore was to get that veteran leadership.
Have you guys had any conversations with Zack Martin, and do you anticipate him eventually showing up to camp if nothing changes with his contract?
Well, first of all, I have nothing but respect for Zack Martin. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. Speaking of a guy who's a pro's pro and a leader in the room, I mean, he represents anything and everything you want when you draft a football player. There's no question he's going to be in the Hall of Fame in my mind.
Yep.
So we have nothing but respect for whatever decision Zack Martin makes. And I think he may not like it, but he certainly probably understands where we are. Zach's under contract, and everybody. Hell, that's why you live in America. You want to make more money. I mean, everybody wants more, and I have nothing but respect for that from Zach, and we'll just continue to grind out here. And I will say this. Of all the people who don't necessarily need to be out here at training camp, he may be at the top of the list in terms of somebody who's going to be just fine, if and when he decides to come in.
But you said if and when. Would you at this point anticipate him missing regular season games?
I have no idea. That's a Zack Martin question.
So, Stephen, when I would go to spring training, I'd always get a crappy number. So I knew I had to open eyes. I knew that I was not there as you're on the team and you're our fourth starter in our rotation. Through the first few practices so far, who's a person, besides like a Micah Parsons, we know how great he is, that you've had meetings on with the coaching staff, said, man, this young man is opening our eyes. We didn't think he would be as good as he is so far.
I would probably go right to Overshown, linebacker out of Texas. I think this guy's showing he belongs. He deserves to be playing and deserves to be on the field. And whether it's special teams, whether it's defense, he's just got a certain it factor to him. He plays the game fast. He knows what he's doing. And he's certainly exceeded our expectations.
Well, that's good, because that was one of those questions where I was like trying to figure out how he fit when he was drafted. I was like, I know Quinn. I'll trust Quinn. He can find a tool for anything, So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. I know he's got the speed to go along with it. After the Diggs contract was done, Jerry was talking about, hey, we still got to get Micah and all. There are some other things. Do you anticipate any other contracts being taken care of before this season starts, before the season ends?
You just don't really know when something's going to get momentum. Obviously, we got guys we'd love to, a lot of young players. It's not just Micah. It's guys like, obviously, C.D. Lamb. You got guys like,
maybe even Dak.
Believe it or not, Dorrance Armstrong, Dak.
Yeah.
We all know we got to have Dak back, so that's eventually going to happen. So, it's always a work in progress in terms of trying to take care of these contracts with young people. And, that's what makes it difficult, to put it all together. I mean, there's a salary cap. I think what's difficult at times is people understanding, it's not that we don't want to, step up and pay this guy and pay that guy, but you got to make it all work, because there is a real salary cap. And unfortunately, we've got to make it all work within the bounds of the salary cap.
I was curious in terms of the real salary cap. This is just a generalized question. I mean, I know Dak has these, but this is not about him. How difficult is it to move off of a player when those voidable years sit there that could potentially be like a dead cap hit? Do you usually only put voidable years with contracts of somebody you're like, hey, I think we might be able to do another deal down the line? Or can you just walk us through that process?
Well, I think you absorb it all. I've told everybody involved, that covers our football team. We're out 3 years and 4 years in terms of seeing when we're going to absorb certain numbers and certain things roll off as you go. Obviously, a player like Zeke had a lot of his dead money roll off while he was playing. And, there were big numbers there. We're certainly absorbing some of those numbers now. But, that's just part of it. Some of it, at some point in time, you get to a point, I know there's teams when they say, hey, okay, we're done, with this run. We got to kind of rebuild this thing, find us a new quarterback, find us this, find us that, and then they take a big dead money hit. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Everybody's shown you can do it in a lot of different ways. The Rams went out and put it all on the line, and it paid off for them. They won a Super Bowl. Yeah. And certainly they're, letting some dead money now roll off, and they're having to work through those type of things. But there's no right way to do it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to have success, and certainly we're working through our situation right now. We think we've got a good roster that can be good for years, and so we're managing our roster right now and our salary cap situation to be able to be solid, for years to come.
And that's what I was curious, is the biggest concern you or other people in your position have is, you mentioned the Rams, but that you do go all in, you put it all on the line, and then it doesn't work, and you're like, well, that was for nothing.
Well, you see teams do it every year.
Yeah.
That go for it. And, I'm sure when it doesn't work, it's very disappointing, because now you're really faced with some tough obstacles from a salary cap standpoint. And the reason I point to the Rams is they were very successful. They're wearing a big old ring, and I feel really good about it. My hat's off to them.
Stephen, I think one of the reasons he's asking salary cap is because he wants to be on your salary cap team.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Is there a possibility that maybe
I just want to study
like
under
a fall
people.
internship or something? He loves this stuff.
Yes.
He dreams about it.
It's actually enjoyable. And
I'm in.
And we have one of the best, and Adam Pacifica. I mean, he's as solid as it gets and understands this stuff, and certainly works with me and Jerry and Mike and our whole crew back there, the coaching staff, Will McClay. But there's a lot of moving parts to it, but at the end of the day, everybody's having to, has the same set of rules. And so it's who can manage it the best. And as I said, there's a lot of ways to go about it. Everybody has different thoughts on it, and everybody's had successes doing it different ways. So there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it.
If I can get in for the shadow program, Mike, I really would love to just follow Adam around.
So I know I talked about spring training, and one of the injuries I had was plantar fasciitis, and it was a son of a gun. And we love Schooney, the tight end. He's our guy, but he's dealing with kind of that type of injury right now, and I just can't imagine going through a whole football season with plantar fasciitis or that type of injury. Can you give us kind of your feeling and on Schooney and his injury? He's actually making a ton of progress. I mean, the best reports I've had on him have been the last 3 days from Britt Brown. I mean, he's just doing an outstanding job. I think those Michigan men working together. You got J. Lou out there doing a hell of a job, and he's pushing his fellow Michigan teammate. I don't know that they played together, but they're certainly pushing one another. But he's doing a hell of a job, and I think he'll be moving into practice here at the end of the week.
Wow. All right. Excellent info right there. Appreciate talking with you every week, and glad to have you here in person at training camp. Ladies and gentlemen,
sweet shoes, too.
Stephen
those are
Jones.
nice.
Compliments.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go. He's keeping me updated.